Personal finance and credit usage should be taught in school, but it's not. We've had hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, and we've paid it off and got it back twice. And along that journey, we've learned a few things. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the 7 most important personal finance lessons that we've learned on our journey.
And we really want you to dial in on this because, like Darius said, we've been in 6 figures of debt twice.
And out of it twice.
So clearly we didn't learn the first time. So we want to just continue to share our journey with you so that you can learn from us, you can learn from our mistakes, and you can also take maybe the commonalities that we may all have within our journeys and apply what you think makes sense to you.
Right. And the first lesson that we learned is we're a married couple. And the very first thing that we learned is that it's a team effort. And if you have a household in which there's other people that rely on the income or contribute to the income of that household and spend money, you should make it a team effort with them on how you basically finance how you run your finances, I would say.
Yeah, and then I was like nodding my head like with huge emotion, and it was for multiple things, because we don't ever want to make it seem like this is easy.
No, it's not.
And being a part of a team is challenging, right? Mm-hmm. But being a part of a team can be super rewarding. Mm-hmm. And so it wasn't until Darius and I put our egos to the side and said, what are we trying to accomplish and how can we work together to make this happen? And it wasn't about us being big brother. What are you spending? What are you doing? Why are you doing this? When we realized we had to strip all of that away and just look at the numbers, we were able to answer those questions for ourselves, right? Like I didn't need to harp on him for his spending. He didn't need to harp on me. We could just look like this is the number that we need to hit and what is keeping us from hitting this number. So what I would say is if you're a married couple, if you're, if your family, whatever it is, instead of making this an attack, look at it from a different perspective and just let the numbers talk. If we can only spend this amount of money, what is necessary and what is unnecessary? And sometimes people who are able to participate and contribute can look at the numbers and go, okay, I probably shouldn't have made this purchase. I don't need to make this again next month, and so on and so forth. So that's one part of being a team. The other part of being a team is recognizing if you're doing this as a household, regardless of your relationship status, the point is to come together for one goal and one purpose. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times you can accomplish much more when you come together than when you work separately.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, you are a team. Whatever your address is, your team Green Street or whatever it is. But the reason why I paused initially is because it's not just with how we manage our money, it's also how we spend money. It's all encompassing, because one thing that we didn't like talking about in our house was our finances. And that's something that we should be talking about more often so that we can make sure we're all on the same page. And making it a team effort is how we got to that point. And once we got on the same page, things became much easier for us in how we set up our finances moving forward and how we manage our finances moving forward.
And the other thing too, a tip that I would share is depending on whoever's responsible for what in your household. For example, like if I was responsible for grocery shopping, just giving an example, and for some reason you're looking at the grocery bill and going, why are you spending so much in groceries? Mm-hmm. Maybe it's helpful for that person to tag along on the next grocery errand so that they can realize, twofold. They can realize how much groceries cost. Mm-hmm. And then also too, that may help the person who's buying the groceries recognize that maybe we don't need 7 can of peas or whatever it is. But the point that I'm making is for when you have to make this a team effort is sometimes everyone has to participate in certain ways. Mm-hmm. So that everyone understands the perspectives and the ways in which people are going about the spending.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Now, the next thing is you want to make sure as a team, you set clear financial goals. And the reason why it's so important that you do this as a team, that you set financial goals, is so you know what you're working towards. Everyone has to have something that they're working towards so they understand the things that need to happen along that process to fulfilling those goals.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of thinking about this point as we go with team effort, team and goals, because we have to be realistic, because we get people that reach out to us and go, hey, my husband just won't cooperate. My wife just won't cooperate. My brother just won't cooperate in this plan, right? If you feel like that's you, then what we want you to do is don't get discouraged. You still need to create the goals. You still need to write things down, write it on paper, and you may have to start this journey alone. Mm-hmm. eventually, hopefully, we find that whoever wasn't cooperative ends up being cooperative because they see the overarching goal that you're trying to do, that it's for the good and not for the demise of the family.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when you come to the family and go, oh, we need to start tracking our spending, people go, oh, I don't want you to know what I'm doing, and I don't want to be restricted, right? So we don't ever want that to be the situation, and you shouldn't come at it like that. Jimmy and John, you can't do this anymore. It's just more so, again, let the numbers speak to themselves. So when you set the expectations, set the goals, that should help clear the air and sometimes the tension that happens when you go, hey, we only made $5,000.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't spend more than $5,000.
So we shouldn't spend $6,000.
Exactly.
Right. Or every year you have a family trip. Every summer you have a family trip. That's a goal. So your goal shouldn't be to put all that on a credit card, but to have the money up front so that you don't go into debt to take a trip that we're going to go on anyway.
And the other thing too is, who likes to go on vacation and have to pack their own sandwiches? Not me.
I don't mind.
The point is, when you go on vacation, you want to enjoy yourself, right? Yeah. You may want to go out to eat. You may want to treat yourself. I ain't packing peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So, hey, husband and wife who isn't cooperating in this plan, when we go on vacation, do you want to pack peanut butter and jelly sandwiches?
I don't mind.
Or would you like to treat yourself on vacation?
No.
Sometimes it's those conversations that need to happen.
Right. And to each his own.
I don't mind.
The next thing that you want to make sure you do is create a system you can follow. Because there's a lot of times where we have this big, hairy, audacious goal, but we have no idea how we're going to get to that goal. Well, that may mean that your goal isn't clear, or it may mean that you need to actually sit down with everybody involved and create a step-by-step plan on how you get there. And it's really important that we do this, because what we found is that all the stuff is connected. Everything that we just said is connected. You need to have the right team players in place. You need to set clear goals. You need to set a plan on how you're going to get to those goals, because the plan that you create is what you do every day, the habits that you have every day that puts you on the right journey, on the right path to fulfilling those goals, those financial goals.
And we're not here to ever knock anybody's hopes and dreams, but what we want you to do is to be realistic, right? So if you have a goal of making $10 million, but you're $9 million in the hole, like, we have to figure those things out. Unless you have an amazing plan to create cash flow tomorrow, then the challenge, it may be just a challenge. We're not saying it's not possible. Everybody can do whatever you put your mind to, but we want you to set realistic expectations for yourself, because what happens is sometimes when we go into this, we get discouraged really quickly because we see the mountain that we have to climb, instead of just looking at the process and realizing that this is going to be a daily commitment, something that we have to commit to daily. So with the goals that we say, we do want you to have hairy, audacious goals, but make sure they're realistic, if that makes sense. So with your money, we recognize that everyone wants financial freedom, and financial freedom is going to look different for everybody. So don't paint your financial freedom to look like what we have, what anyone else has. Financial freedom has to look like what you look, or what you want it to look like. And that also goes with it being realistic, because sometimes people measure their success or what they think is successful to others when they have a different journey to climb.
Right.
If that makes sense. So that's kind of my 2 cents to the point.
Right. Now, we're talking about the journey or the lessons that we learn. What are some lessons that you learned along your journey of personal finance? Maybe you were in a place that you didn't necessarily enjoy being, and you made some changes to get you to that point. What are some things that you've done?
And definitely comment below, share that. And if you also want to join the Wealth Nation family, then click on the link below. We would love to serve you in your quest for financial freedom.
Now, the next thing that you want to make sure you add, or the next thing that we've learned, is to have multiple sources of income. And the reason why this was so important for us is because along that journey, I got laid off, and one of our sources of income went away overnight.
Gone.
So it was really important for us to understand moving forward, we need to have multiple sources of income, because we have no idea when our source of income that we think is so guaranteed isn't.
And many of us learned this unfortunate lesson through COVID, the start of COVID. Many of us were laid off, lost their jobs, or many people had businesses and realized that their money was running them instead of them running their money, and had to close their doors. So what we want you to do is to create control around your income. And control around your income really has to be wherever position you are, if you're a W-2 or you're a business owner. The main thing is we want you to have a sense of control. And what we realized in the start of our journey, we didn't have control because we were dependent on the incomes that were coming in from my job and from Darius's job. And when that one source of income was taken away, that was a light bulb moment to go, you guys are not in control and you need to figure something out. But we learned from that, right? There's a ton of people who haven't learned from it, right? Who are continuing to be dependent on one source of income. And if you are looking for financial freedom, we're not saying that it's not possible to be free on one source of income, but it makes it a lot nicer.
Yeah, what you have
when you have more.
Yeah, what you have when you have one source of income is you have concentration risk.
I was just gonna say that.
You have concentration risk where if something was to happen with that one source of income, you're up the creek.
And with businesses too, right? If you only have one way of profiting, you need to figure out to have many different ways of profiting so that when one source goes down, you still have other sources of income coming in.
Absolutely. Now, lesson number 5 that we learned is to make sure you have your savings account automatic. Make sure you have money going towards savings automatically. We want this to be something that happens as soon as income comes in, it goes straight to your savings account. This is so important because your savings account is supposed to save you in the event you need it. But your savings account is also supposed to be there for you to not only be on the defensive, but on the offensive. When there's opportunities that presents itself to earn additional income through the form of investments, where do you think that money is going to come from? It's going to come from your savings. So make sure that you have your savings on automatic. It's a big lesson that we learned because you never know when you're going to need it, but you also never know when there's going to be an opportunity that presents itself for you to make additional funds.
I don't need to add anything to that. I mean, legitimately, we've learned the hard way where every time an opportunity arose and we go to tap into the savings and nothing was there,
there's nothing there.
What do? You have to finance it.
Mm-hmm.
And now your opportunity just became more expensive because you have to finance it instead of being able to pay cash, for example.
Right.
So in that scenario, it's just, again, about control. You have to control your money and tell your money where to go so that it doesn't tell you where it went.
Yeah.
And when you start to realize those opportunities that you have to control your money, and you can look down at your numbers, and again, not being restrictive, we're creating a plan for our money of what we should do, and even factor in the blow money, the money that you discretionary funds, right? Because you still have to live. We still have to do the things that we love and the things that we enjoy, but make a plan for it as opposed to not having a plan and then trying to figure out how we're going to make this work.
Yeah, you still need your entertainment budget or entertainment funds.
And I have to tell you, it wasn't until we started saving consistently. You hear that word, consistently? Consistently, I'll say it again, not just like every other month or when we got to it consistently. And it hurt. Again, it's a process. It hurt for us because at first we didn't see the value. It was just something that we had to do because Darius and Carmen on YouTube said you have to do it, right? but it wasn't until that we started seeing the money grow in our bank account where it became fun. It became a challenge. Can we do more? Oh yeah, I don't need to spend this money on my entertainment budget. Throw it in the savings. And that's where we started to recognize the value of how powerful our savings could be. And then when opportunities came up, we were like, oh, guess who has the money to take advantage of it? We do.
Right.
And things change. So again, like I said, it's a process. We never want to over glamorize. Is that a word?
We'll go with it.
You know what I mean. We don't want to make it seem like it's peaches and cream. It will be, but in the beginning, it's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. The next lesson we learned is to invest in knowledge. You don't know what you don't know. So invest in books and courses to help you get a better understanding of your finances and maybe what are some things that's happened around you, taxes, inflation. What are some things that happen around you that you need to know about that affects your income?
I don't think I understood, again, the value of continued education until I started continuing my education.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because even to the point where we are, where we have achieved a certain level of financial freedom, we're still learning and we're still continuing, because we realize that we have to grow. And if the minute that you stop growing, you're dead in the water in many different ways. And so we want to continue to grow. We want to continue to learn. And we're never too big-headed to think that we know everything, especially within this financial market, because things change every day, as we see.
Yeah. So even if it's just you want to read one finance book a year, make that a priority to do that every single year, so that you can keep in front of the information, so that you can stay thinking about your finances and how you can have it best serve you.
And it doesn't even, it can be books, 100%. It can be books.
It can be courses.
Maybe you have to start out with courses. Maybe you have to start out with maybe reading an article. Well, whatever it is, again, it's your journey. Do it in a way that you can be consistent and that it doesn't overwhelm you. Because how many times do we start something, but we don't stay consistent with it because we haven't created a habit? We've only created a goal that puts us in the middle realm of either we're going to do it or we're not going to do it. So habits are something that keeps us in the game, keeps us consistent, keeps us working towards something. Because how many times have we created a goal for ourselves and maybe not achieved it because we didn't have the habits in place to accomplish the goal?
Right. And the next point that we learned, the biggest lesson we learned, is to spend less than what you earn. I'll repeat it. Spend less than what you earn. Don't buy stuff to impress people that you don't like. The reason being is debt is really easy for us to get into, but it's hard to get out of. Don't look at something for the fact that, hey, I can buy this car and I can afford the monthly payments, but you can't necessarily afford the car outright. You can afford a really nice pair of sneakers. You can afford the payments on Afterpay.
Afterpay, oh yeah.
You can afford the monthly payments, but you can't afford the sneakers. We need to get better at understanding what we can afford and what we can't, and don't spend more than what we have, because it's easy to do so. We call that debt. Don't get into debt for something that doesn't serve you.
I was very reminiscent that whole time you were talking, because as you opened up this video with, where we're not taught this information, no. It's not in our schools, but for whatever reason we do it. We all of a sudden get the education, get the fancy job or whatever it is, and then we start spending money.
Yeah.
And we're not taught that you shouldn't spend more money than you make. It sounds like common sense, but really it's not common sense to people, because they just don't know what to do with the money that they have in front of them. And then when you have the marketing that goes, oh, get this credit card, get this personal loan, go do this. Like, you're like buying all this stuff up, and then you're just spending and maxing it all out because it's available to you. Right. And so the thing that we just want you to get simply is, if you make X amount of dollars, don't spend more than that.
Right.
And then get to the point where you can say, if I make $10,000 a month, then I'm going to spend $8,000. Maybe I'll spend 7, maybe I'll spend 6, maybe I'll spend 5. Like how can you look at this from a different lens to go, how much more money can I save that will allow me to make more money than to spend money? So
or
that
to keep more money than you spend.
Exactly. Because what we want is, if you're trying to achieve that level of financial freedom, whatever it means to you, you do need some sort of savings mechanism. You need some sort of savings plan, so that eventually you can create cash flow that will help you not be dependent on that one source of income.
Right. And I know this started for me as soon as I got out of college, because in college we lived a certain lifestyle with the dollar menu. And then once you get your job and you can afford to buy more things, you buy more things because you can. Yeah. That's what happened to me. Mm-hmm. Your journey may be different, but at the end of the day, if you have a plan and you follow that plan, a lot of these lessons that you learned or the lessons that we've learned, you won't have to go through it. Mm-hmm. Have a plan and follow that plan.
Mm-hmm. And basically what you're saying from dollar menu to the upgrade, whatever it is, not the dollar menu anymore, is, what is the quote? It just left me. Your spending increases to meet your income. Is that what it is?
Your income, your expenses increase to meet your income.
Yeah. So basically what we do is, when we make more money, what happens? Our spending increases. And our habits change. Mm-hmm. A luxury once enjoyed now becomes a necessity. Mm-hmm. Eating at restaurants instead of the dollar menu now becomes a luxury, and it's a necessity. And that's how our spending continues to increase to meet the level of our income.
Yeah.
When we don't want that to happen, we need to look at how much money can we keep instead of how much money can we spend.
Right. Like, you remember the last time you bought a slice of pizza? It's been a while because you can afford the whole pizza now. We couldn't
I'm literally thinking, when was the
Yeah.
last time I bought a slice?
There was a point where we couldn't afford a whole pizza. So things to think about.
Really?
But at the end of the day, what we want you to do is learn from our lessons, because you can apply it to yourself. We're all on different financial journeys, but we're all on a journey.
And the other thing, going back to the slice of pizza, I think that is a phenomenal visual. But the other thing that I don't want you all to misunderstand the point that we're trying to make is we just want you to be aware. And once you become aware, you start changing your habits and the behaviors and the things that you do. Mm-hmm. We are never going to tell you that you need to restrict your spending or you need to do XYZ with your spending. We just want you to open your eyes to the opportunities that you have to make more money than maybe spending it frivolously or on things that don't serve you. So we're cheeky, we're making jokes, but again, we're sharing our journey, but we're also trying to hit you with some gems so that you can recognize, wait, how can I do this better? How can I be better? How can I do more for myself and for my family? And only you can figure that out and answer those questions, because we don't know your numbers.
Right.
When you take a look at your numbers, then you'll be able to say, okay, I can do X, Y, Z to be better, to achieve, again, that level of financial freedom or whatever it is. So does it make sense for you to buy a slice of pizza or two instead of the whole pie? I don't know. You need to answer that question for yourself.
Right. Now, if you like this video, we definitely want you to check out our next video where we continue the conversation about our personal finances.
And remember to own your own lifestyle.
Or someone else will.